Shalom, and welcome to the Hebrew of Israel channel. We continue our journey in the scriptures with the resting of the ark. So let's begin with Genesis chapter 8, verse 1 through 5.
Chapter 8. And God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. And the fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen.
Today, many people believe that the ark rested on Mount Ararat in Armenia. However, before the 13th century AD, people didn't believe Armenia was the location for the resting of Noah's Ark. It was a completely foreign concept. This only became popularized very recently in the 13th century AD. Armenians began to associate Mount Ararat in Armenia as the location of Noah's Ark. But prior to the 13th century, Mount Ararat was a pagan mountain that the gods lived on, and the sun set there. When Armenians adopted Christianity, they changed it from a pagan mountain to the resting of Noah's Ark. The reason why Mount Ararat became popular with Christians in the West is because of crusaders who came to Armenia and brought the legend back to Europe. According to the book Armenian Christianity Today, Identity Politics, and Popular Practice, it is worth noting that contrary to Armenian Apostolic Church discourse and popular knowledge, it is probably as late as the beginning of the 2nd millennium AD when the localization of the biblical Mount Ararat was permanently moved from the highlands hemming Upper Mesopotamia to Mount Massis in the heartland of historical Armenian territory. Mount Massis was a sacred mountain even before its identification with Ararat, and afterwards its symbolic importance for the Armenian issue has made Massis Ararat critical in the formation of the Armenian identity. And according to historical Genesis from Adam to Abraham, it reads, Armenia converted to Christianity in the 4th century. An alphabet was introduced by the 5th century AD, and the Bible could then be translated into Armenian. When Armenians read Genesis in their own Bible, their understanding appears to be at variance with what the writers of the Genesis intended. Once the Armenians believed the famous Ark was located within their borders, Ark stories began to flourish. Armenian literature from the 5th through the 10th centuries AD said nothing of an Ark. It was not until the 13th century that Ark legends began to appear, and these stories became popular by the 14th century. Perhaps the earliest Mount Ararat account can be attributed to William of Rumbruck, who launched a mission to the Mongols in hope of converting them to Christianity near the city he called Nuxa. As Christianity flourished over the centuries, Mount Ararat in Turkey became the landing spot de jure without regard to how a boat could have gotten there, or even paying close attention to the Genesis narrative itself. One of those caught up in repeating the myths of others was Nicolas de Nicolai, appointed by the King of France as court geographer, who by 1558 had finished a trip to Turkey. According to World History Encyclopedia titled Mount Ararat, it reads, Ancient Armenians called the mountain Ma'az Massis, which meant holy and free in the Old Armenian language. Kajus, which were guardian spirits of royal and noble families, dwelt on Mount Ararat. Pagan Armenians found it taboo to scale the mountain, as they believed, much like the Sumerians, that Mount Ararat was a place where the sun came to rest during the night. Even after their conversion to Christianity, Armenians were still reluctant to risk climbing to Mount Ararat's peak. There is nevertheless a legend that King Turdet III, Armenia's first Christian king, climbed Mount Ararat to bring down stones for the formation of the 8 new churches. Armenians have many myths and legends about the base of the Ararat Mountains, many of which predate Christianity and include dragons, snakes, and other reptile monsters. These myths and legends are strongly correlated with volcanic steam, ash, and black waters that spewed forth out of Mount Ararat during eruptions and earthquakes. Moses Kenrotius, an Armenian historian and the author of the History of Armenia, wrote that Armenians are the direct descendants of Noah through his son Japheth, and that Hayek, the mythical founder of Armenia and ancestor to all Armenians, established his nation within the vicinity of Mount Ararat. The arrival of European crusaders and intermarriage between Armenians and European crusaders in the 11th and 12th century CE seem to have accelerated the reassertion that Mount Ararat was the spot where the Ark came to rest. When Europeans returned to continental Europe from the Holy Land, or Armenia, they reiterated that Mount Ararat, located in the heart of Armenia, was where the Ark could be found. So, as stated before, the association of Armenia with the Mount Ararat is a fairly recent concept. This wasn't believed until the 13th century AD. Then, Western Christian European crusaders came to Armenia and brought the legend to Europe. But before the 13th century AD, Mount Ararat was a sacred mountain to the Armenians in pagan belief. However, due to adopting Christianity, these pagan beliefs were changed, and they changed the mountain from a sacred mountain into the resting of Noah's Ark. So in reality, the resting of Noah's Ark is a fairly recent concept and belief held in Armenian pagan folklore that was changed in the 13th century by Christianity, and then it was brought to Western Europe by Crusaders. Various ancient sources also state that Noah's Ark rested in Mount Judy and not Mount Ararat in Armenia. Sources such as the Samaritan Pentateuch, the Targums, the Book of Jubilees, Josephus, Julius Africanus, Eusebius, the Peshitta, and Apophthegms. All of these sources and more place Noah's Ark, the resting of it, in Mount Judy, near Syria and Iraq, and not Mount Ararat in Armenia. And again, this is according to Jewish Babylonian, Syriac, early Christians and Muslims, even the Armenians themselves, before the 13th century AD, said that Mount Judy was the location of the resting of Noah's Ark. Remember, the Armenian legend of Noah's Ark only goes back to the 13th century AD, when Armenians converted to Christianity. But prior to Christianity, Mount Massus was sacred to the Armenians for pagan reasons. Keep in mind, it was only changed until after Christianity that they changed it from a pagan mountain to the resting of Noah's Ark. And then this legend was brought to Europe by Crusaders who went into Armenia and brought the tradition with them to the West, and then it became popularized. Therefore, Mount Ararat being in Armenia today is really a late Christian belief, or a medieval Christian belief, and it's not an old Christian belief, because early Christians, as well as Jewish people and Muslims all believed that Mount Judy was the location of where Noah's Ark rested, which is near Syria and Iraq today. And I choose to go with the older sources that say Noah's Ark rested in Mount Judy rather than late medieval Christian beliefs. I go with the early Christian beliefs, the Babylonian Jewish beliefs, the Syriac beliefs, and the Islamic belief for the resting of Noah's Ark in Mount Judy. And with that being said, have a blessed day and shalom.